let's take Dana White, because he's been very public about his medical records. We've actually put his medical records on Instagram. So I figure if you put your medical records up to 8.8 million people, you've lost your HIPAA privilege. So Dana, I apologize, brother. We're going to lay it out. So when I met Dana, he was certainly overweight. He was, by BMI charts, he would have been.
That's the one he posted.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, there he is. That's when we met.
You met September 2022?
Yeah.
Look at the difference, though. That's unbelievable, Gary.
It's crazy.
So when you met with him,
he said it's 2 years since I started my health journey with Gary Brecka. Thanks for changing my life, brother. I don't think I saw that. That's awesome. Thank you, Dana. Yeah. So what was going on up top that was going on at the bottom? So first of all, he was on multiple medications for heart, for high blood pressure. He was
blood
what they
thinners,
call
he was
blood thinners, diuretics, ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, all things to interrupt the function of the heart, holding the heart responsible for crime it's not committing. And so let's just talk about what happened with Dana White. And so when we looked at Dana's blood work, and for the record, I am not a physician. I'm not licensed to practice medicine, so I'm not giving medical advice. And there was a clinical team that was involved in Dana's case that made the clinical decisions. I want to be clear about that. But when we looked at Dana's blood work, and we looked at his genetics, he had a genetic variant that did not allow him to convert an amino acid in his blood called homocysteine. Okay, so he couldn't take homocysteine and turn it into a harmless amino acid called methionine. And this is my point. Yeah, can you just pull up, an amino acid, homocysteine, perfect. Look at hyperhomocystinemia. What is hyperhomocystinemia, or symptoms of hyperhomocystinemia? So hyperhomocystinemia can be caused by deficiency in B6, B12, or folate. Genetic disorders. Okay, so let's just start at the top two. The leading two causes of high homocysteine are nutrient deficiencies. Nobody checked to see if the nutrient deficiency might be what's causing his high blood pressure, because what happens when your homocysteine rises? As homocysteine is cruising by the inside lining of your artery, okay, it irritates your artery. And if you irritate an artery, it will clamp down. And if you make the pipes smaller in a fixed system, the pressure goes up. So now I have 63,000 miles of blood vessel in my body. I have this very high level of homocysteine, which is one of the most inflammatory factors in the human body, circulating around in my blood, this inflammation circulating around in my blood. And because of that, my arterial system constricts and it drives my pressure up. You go to the cardiologist, which he did. The cardiologist checks his heart and says, man, everything's fine with your heart, but you have high blood pressure. So we're going to start pounding on the heart for a crime it's not committing to try to lower your blood pressure. But since the hypertension wasn't coming from the heart, it was coming from the constriction of blood vessels because of a simple deficiency in those vitamins listed right there, then the hypertension continued to get worse. He had one of the highest levels of homocysteine that I'd ever seen, that my clinical team had ever seen. So we put him on an amino acid called trimethylglycine, TMG, which you could get at GNC. We put him on a B complex, a methylfolate, a form of B12 called methylcobalamin, high doses of those things. And I remember talking to him about his medical records and saying, Dana, there's nothing wrong with your heart. Because I'm not in a position to tell you to stop taking cardiovascular medication. But you will know in due course over the next few weeks when it's actually time to titrate down on your medication. We'll get your cardiologist involved. And so essentially, I gave him this amino acid that allowed his body to start metabolizing homocysteine. As his homocysteine level dropped, his vascular system began to relax. As his vascular system relaxed, his pressure dropped. As his pressure dropped, it eventually returned to normal. And we were doing blood pressure 3 times a day, 7 days a week. And by week 21, he was completely off of all of his cardiovascular medication that he had been on for 15 years.
Wow.
And because of the inflammatory cascade, high C-reactive protein, high homocysteine, he had a lot of swelling in his nasopharynx and the back of his pharynx behind his tongue. So he was also on a CPAP machine. So as he brought that inflammatory cascade down, the adenoid area widened and the sleep apnea went away. So he got off the sleep apnea machine. And then as we started to manage what's called the hematocrit, the blood viscosity, by simply doing, blood dumps, therapeutic phlebotomy, his hematocrit returned to normal, meaning the blood viscosity returned to normal. He stopped having motor oil for blood and he began having water for blood, viscosity-wise. And so now you're off the blood thinners. So he's off of blood thinners. He's off of hypertensive medication. He was off of the diuretics that were actually just stripping potassium out of his tissues. And he got off of all of his medication. His weight dropped. Blood pressure returned to normal. Sleep deepened. REM sleep extended. Deep sleep extended. He was off of the CPAP machine. Cognitive function went back through the roof. His weight loss improved every other facet of his life. And now, if you look at him now, he's 2.5 years out. He's on no pharmaceuticals. He doesn't take any prescription medication. The tinnitus that he had and the vertigo that he had is virtually gone. He's in incredibly good shape, and he'll stay here for the balance of his adult lifetime. He looks just like that right now.
How much time commitment does it take to look like that?
Less than you think. 70% of that is diet.
70. Okay, I agree, but the 30% that is the red light, the cold plunge. How much time commitment does that require? How many days a week?
So if you want to get back to the basics and just look like that, what he's really focused on now is life extension, right? So I always tell people, look, in my previous company, we sold $110,000 red light bed. And if you're getting ready to buy a Ferrari, go buy a red light bed before you buy a Ferrari. That Ferrari is going to do nothing for your cellular biology, but red light can change your life. But what's really interesting is most of these modalities are just mimicking what we get from Mother Nature. So again, we're getting back to what God gave us, not what man makes us. So you can go out and spend $123,000 on a red light bed if you've got that money lying around, or you could just take your shirt off and expose your skin to sunlight for 16 to 20 minutes every morning. Face the sun. We've been taught to fear the sun. We get three things from Mother Nature. We get the magnetism from the earth, which is a very real thing. I get so much flack on this on social media, which I can't understand why, because it's a very valid concept. Taking your shoes off, touching the surface of the earth, earthing, grounding is a very real thing. The earth has a low Gauss current. When we touch the surface of the earth, we discharge into the earth. You can actually measure this in the blood. I've done it real time on stages before in front of tons of people, where if we can't touch the surface of the earth, I'll lay somebody on a PEMF mat, pulse electromagnetic field mat. And you just prick their finger, you put it on a slide, and you show people in real time what your red blood cells look like circulating around in your blood. Well, you'll see that they're all kind of stuck together and clumped up. That's a great mat too. Stuck together and clumped up, because when your cells have opposite charges, they attract. Soon as you touch the surface of the earth for a few minutes, it repolarizes the surface of those cells, and they actually start to free float around. They can't contact each other.
Why is that?
Because you changed the. So if these are two cells and they have the same charge, they can't touch, like two poles of a magnet. As soon as they get opposite charges, they attract. So when your cells start sticking together, everywhere they touch, you lose surface area. What happens when you lose surface area on a cell that's round, that's meant to have all this surface area in contact with its environment? It can't eliminate waste. It can't repair. It can't detoxify. It can't regenerate. And now you start suffering all of these consequences for something simple like, I just don't walk on the surface of the earth on a regular basis. Now, if you have the money and you want to save the time, you can get a PEMF mat. You can drop $5,000 on a PEMF mat or $1,300 on a PEMF mat. But if you don't want to do that, take your shoes off and touch the surface of the earth. You can spend $123,000 on a red light bed, or you can take your shirt off and expose your skin to sunlight in the first 45 to 60 minutes of the day. And that we are very photovoltaic beings. All red light is doing is taking the beneficial wavelengths from the sun and mimicking those in an inside environment, right? You get real physiologic benefits from red light.
So you could realistically do all of this naturally without even needing to buy all these equipment.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, if you can't afford a cold plunge, take Tupperware containers, fill them full of water, put them in your freezer, and put blocks of ice into your tub. And you'll do that twice a week, because that cold plunge will last you 3 days, right? If you don't have a tub, take a cold shower. One of the best things you can do, and if you're going to harness your morning routine, is get up in the morning, get out in first light, the first 45 to 60 minutes of the day when there's no UVA, no UVB rays. Allow the natural sunlight to hit your skin, start to generate vitamin D3. You are very photovoltaic. It is actually a material fact that your mitochondria are charged by light.
nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. You like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PBD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.